I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Dave, and I've been married to Lisa for about 10 years now. We're not perfect, of course. We had our fights, disagreements, the usual stuff. But I thought for the most part we were solid. We had a good life, a nice house, decent jobs, 2 kids who are now teenagers, and what I thought was a genuine connection. Lately, though, things started feeling off. Lisa been more distant than usual. She'd come home from her card club at the community center and be more pissed off than happy. I'd ask her what was wrong, and she'd brush me off or give some lame excuse about tiredness or me being too clingy. Small signs, I guess, but I brushed them aside because I didn't want to believe she was cheating. Then, it got worse. She started hiding her phone more. I'd catch her deleting messages or putting her phone face down when I walked into the room. She also started dressing differently, more revealing, more flirtatious. Not that I'm some jealous guy, but it felt different, like she was trying to send a message, but I didn't know what. I figured maybe she was just trying to boost her confidence or something, but deep down I felt uneasy. One night, I decided to check her phone after she went to bed. I know that's invasive, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I found a string of texts with this guy named Mark, who was the bridge instructor at the community center. His name kept popping up. They had been exchanging messages for weeks about advanced strategies for bridge, but the tone had shifted. It wasn't just about the game anymore. There were flirty comments, emoji-filled messages that seemed more intimate than they should be. I saw her ask him to meet her after class to go over some stuff that wasn't about bridge. I felt my stomach drop. I knew right then I'd probably been blind, but I felt it all clearly now. This wasn't just a hobby or some innocent after-class meeting. I started piecing everything together. The late nights, her secretive behavior, the way she'd get defensive when I asked if anything was wrong. I was furious, but mostly heartbroken. I never thought I'd be that guy who catches his wife cheating, and I didn't want to believe it was true. But the evidence was right there on my phone in her own damn messages. The next day I couldn't focus at work. My mind kept circling back to those messages, to the idea that Lisa had been lying right to my face. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I could be so blind to something that was sitting right there in plain sight. I felt a mixture of betrayal, anger, and this deep, aching sadness that I couldn't shake. I knew she wasn't some innocent angel, but I never thought she'd actually cheat on me. We had our issues, sure, but I always believed in honesty and loyalty. Now that belief was crumbling. That evening I decided I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I wanted to hear from her, really hear what she thought she was doing. So I waited until she got home, her face tired but trying to hide something. The moment she walked in, I just blurted it out. "Lisa, I know about Mark." I saw the messages. What the hell is going on? Her eyes widened and she froze for a second, then scoffed. "Oh, Jesus, you're nuts. You're reading too much into it. They're just friends. It's nothing serious. You're overreacting." She looked annoyed, like I was interrupting her important day, like I was the one in the wrong for even bringing it up. "No, Lisa, it's not just some innocent friendship. I found out what this was really about. You've been meeting him after class, haven't you?" I could feel my voice tighten. I was pissed. I wanted to shake her, but I kept my composure. "You've been lying to me. All these months you've been hiding this from me, and I don't even know what to believe anymore." She rolled her eyes and threw her hands up. "God, you're such a drama queen. It's just a game. I get bored, so I talk to him. Big deal. It's not like I'm sleeping with him. Honestly, you're so paranoid. You always think the worst." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was outright lying, dismissing my feelings like they were nothing. My heart was pounding, and I felt like I was about to explode. I wanted to scream, to shout. That I was hurt, betrayed, that I deserved better than this bullshit. But I just stood there watching her lie so casually, knowing this was the beginning of the end. That night I lay awake thinking about everything. About how a woman I'd trusted for so long could do this to me. About the little things I'd missed, the subtle signs I refused to see. I felt foolish, naive even, for not noticing sooner. But more than anything, I felt a deep, cold anger. This wasn't about just cheating. It was about betrayal. About someone I loved and trusted throwing that all away for some stupid game of cards and sex with a guy who probably thought he was smarter than me. I promised myself I wouldn't let this go without a fight. I needed a plan. I needed to make her see what she'd done, and I knew I wasn't going to be the one to forgive her easily. The following days were a blur. I couldn't concentrate at work, couldn't eat properly, and every time I looked at Lisa, I saw this cold, dismissive attitude she had about the whole thing. She kept insisting it was nothing, that I was just overreacting, that Mark was just a guy who helps her with bridge strategies. Yeah, right. I saw the messages, Lisa. I read the texts. There was no way I was going to buy her shitty explanations anymore. I decided I had to gather more evidence before I confronted her again. I started paying closer attention to her routines. One night, I followed her to the community center. I parked a few blocks away and watched her walk inside. The place was dead quiet, and I knew from the recordings that they'd stay late sometimes in the card room. I waited, heart pounding, watching her slip inside. I saw her go into the back room with Mark, and that's when I saw it all. They stayed for hours after class, not just talking about bridge. They exchanged contact info in the most casual way, like it was nothing, and I saw her lean in toward him in a way that was more than just friendly. I felt a punch of rage, but also a deep sense of betrayal. This wasn't just some innocent hobby anymore. She was lying to my face, sneaking around, and now I had proof. I didn't want to act impulsively, but I knew I couldn't let this go. I needed a way to make her understand that I knew everything, that I wasn't some fool who could be played. The next day I came home early from work. I planned to catch her in the act if I could. She was in the kitchen pretending to be busy with some stupid salad. I just looked at her and she knew I was serious. Lisa, I said calmly but firmly, I saw you last night. I know about Mark and I know what you've been doing. Her face twisted in that way she always does when she's caught lying. Oh, please, she snapped. You're overreacting, it's not what you think. She tried to dismiss it like it was nothing, but I wasn't buying it. Don't lie to me anymore. I saw you with him after class. I saw how you two were acting. You think I don't know what you're really doing? She hesitated for a moment, then rolled her eyes. Fine. Yes, I met him. Big deal. I'm bored with our life, Dave. I needed something more. You're not exactly a saint either. We're not happy, so I found someone who actually cares about me for once. Her voice was bitter, and I could see that she was trying to brush it off, like this was just some petty thing to her. That was the moment I realized how far gone she was. She wasn't just cheating. She was dismissive, entitled, and completely indifferent to how I felt. I felt a mix of heartbreak and anger, like I'd been punched in the gut. I'd never seen her so unapologetic, so ready to throw her marriage away without a second thought. I wanted to scream, but I kept my cool. I told her I needed some time to think, to process all this. And honestly, I didn't even know where to start, but I knew I wasn't going to let her get away with it that easily. That night, I lay staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all. How can someone you love so much turn into this stranger who's willing to cheat and lie? I'd always thought marriage was about loyalty, about sticking through the hard times. But Lisa, she threw that away like it was nothing. The betrayal cut so deep, I felt like I was bleeding inside. I kept asking myself if I should fight for us or just let her go. I didn't have the answer yet, but I knew the next steps would change everything. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to do something, but I also didn't want to make any rash decisions. Part of me wanted to confront her again, yell at her, tell her I saw everything and that I was done. But another part knew that if I didn't think this through, I might do something I'd regret. I stayed quiet, tried to keep a normal face, but inside I was falling apart. Every time I saw her, I felt like a stranger, like I didn't even recognize the woman I'd been married to all these years. One night, I decided I needed to get more concrete evidence, something I could hold over her head if I decided to confront her again with a stronger case. So I set up a little plan. I installed a discreet camera in the living room, one I could turn on from my phone. It wasn't exactly legal, I guess, but I needed to see how she acted when she thought I wasn't around. It was a way to catch her in the act, to see if she'd slip up even more. I told myself I'd only use it if I needed leverage, but honestly, I was just desperate to know the truth. A few nights later, I turned on the camera while I was at work. I wanted to see what she was doing when she thought nobody was watching. I kept my phone close, heart pounding, waiting for anything to happen. And then it did. I saw her sneak out of the house after midnight, tiptoeing past the kids' rooms. She got into her car and I followed the footage on my phone. She drove to the community center again, met Mark in the back room and stayed there for hours. They weren't just talking about bridge. I saw her sitting on his lap, whispering, laughing. They kissed. Right there on the damn camera, I saw everything I needed to know. The anger hit me like a freight train. She had been lying to my face all along. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, and now I had the proof. It wasn't just some suspicion anymore. It was cold, undeniable fact. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly kind of numb. How could she do this? How could she just throw everything we had away for some guy who probably thinks he's a hero? I watched that footage over and over, trying to process what I'd seen. I knew I couldn't just confront her again without being prepared. I needed a plan, a way to make her see just how much she'd fucked up. I didn't want to be some guy who just forgave her and moved on. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line, that I wasn't going to be some sucker who takes her back after this. When I finally turned off the camera, I made a mental note. I had enough evidence to blow this whole thing up if I wanted to. That night, I sat in the dark, feeling a strange mix of relief and despair. I'd uncovered the truth, but it felt like the beginning of a war I wasn't ready for. I kept asking myself if I could forgive her, if we could somehow fix this, or if I should just cut my losses and walk away. Either way, I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her ruin me, not without a fight. The day I decided to confront her again, I knew I had to be careful. I couldn't just blow everything up without a plan. I had to make her see that I knew the truth, that I was serious. I waited until she was out of the house. Then I took the footage I had gathered, the messages, all of it. I printed the screenshots of her texts with Mark, saved the video clips on a USB drive, and stashed everything somewhere safe. I wanted her to see I wasn't messing around. When she finally came home that evening, she was her usual bitchy self, acting like everything was fine, even though I could tell she was nervous. I didn't say much at first. I let her go on with her nonsense, her typical bitchy attitude, throwing insults or dismissive comments when I pressed her about her behavior. But I kept my cool. I knew I had her cornered, and I wanted her to admit what she'd been doing. Finally, I just pulled out the evidence. I laid it all on the table, screenshots of her messages, the video footage I secretly recorded, the times she'd sneaked off. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. She started lying, of course, saying it was just a game, that Mark was just a friend, that I was overreacting, and that I was crazy for even believing she'd cheat. She called me paranoid, accused me of spying on her and trying to control her life. All her usual manipulative crap. But I didn't back down. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, that I knew she'd been screwing around, and that I was done pretending everything was fine. I told her I was sick of her acting like she's the victim when she's the one who cheated. Her bitchy attitude flipped into full-blown rage. She started screaming, yelling that I was crazy, that I was stalking her, that I was the one ruining everything. She told me I was insecure, that she didn't love me anymore, and that she was done with this whole marriage. I felt like I was finally waking up from a nightmare. I'd spent days feeling like I was drowning, and now I had the proof I needed. I looked right into her eyes and told her it was over. I said she could stay if she wanted, but I was done being her doormat, her fool. I told her she was a cheating bitch who threw away everything we had. That's when she stormed out, slamming the door behind her, furious but defeated. The aftermath was messier than I expected. I moved out of the bedroom and the house felt cold and empty. Lisa kept insisting she was free, that she deserved her own life now. I didn't want to fight anymore. I knew I deserved better, but it still hurt like hell. I kept replaying everything, all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored, all those little lies she told me to keep me in the dark. Honestly, I feel a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I'm glad I found out the truth, even if it's a brutal truth. I'm angry that she played me, that she lied for so long. But I'm also sad because I loved her, I really did. And now I have to rebuild my life without her, knowing she chose someone else over us. If anything, this has taught me a harsh lesson. Never ignore the signs, trust your gut, and don't let someone treat you like a fool. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, even if it's after you're already broken. Since everything happened, I've been trying to piece my life back together. It's not easy. Some nights I lie awake feeling stupid for trusting her for so long, for ignoring the little signs that now seem obvious in hindsight. But I also feel a strange sense of liberation. I no longer have to pretend everything is okay. I don't have to act like her loyal husband when she was out sneaking around. It hurts, but at the same time, it's a relief to finally see things clearly. I've learned a lot from all this mess. First, don't ignore your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Second, the truth will come out eventually, sooner or later. Secrets don't stay hidden forever. And third, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I was too passive for too long, thinking I could fix things or that she'd change. But I realized that sometimes you have to fight for your dignity, even if it means losing someone you loved. Looking back, I see that I was blindsided and I let her manipulate my feelings for a while. But I refuse to be a victim of that anymore. I've started to rebuild my confidence, focusing on myself, my work, my kids, my hobbies. I've even started dating again, cautiously. It's a slow process, but I'm trying to remind myself that I'm worth more than someone who cheats and lies. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your instincts. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting honesty. And if you find yourself betrayed, don't stay silent. Be brave enough to face the truth, no matter how painful it is. Because the only way to move forward is to acknowledge what really happened, learn from it, and refuse to let it define you. At the end of this, I know I'll come out stronger. I may be damaged, but I'm not broken. And someday, I'll look back at this chapter and realize it was just another lesson, one I'll carry with me forever.